On November 3rd, 1992, Rick James was out on bail for his charge of kidnapping and torturing Frances Alley. While under the influence of cocaine, he assaulted music executive Mary Sauger at the St. James Club and Hotel in West Hollywood. Sauger stated that she met James and Tanya Hijazi, which was James's girlfriend, for a business meeting to discuss a label that he created, but the two then kidnapped and beat her for over a 20-hour period. Sauger stated that she arrived at the hotel at 10 p.m., took a hit of cocaine, and drank some wine. Around 2 a.m., James and Tanya started arguing, and Sauger left the room. She said that she went to the elevator, closed her eyes, and rested her head against the wall briefly as the door closed. When the doors opened, Sauger was back on the 11th floor of the hotel, and Hijazi was waiting for her. Tanya was apologetic and asked Sauger to return to the room, where they began discussing business again. At what I assume to have been early on in the conversation, Tanya left briefly and returned only wearing her underwear. Tanya tried to distract James, but it didn't work, and the three began talking about musicians on tour and how the wives of performers are often harassed by other musicians. Sauger stated that Tanya suddenly became angry and started slapping her repeatedly. Then James joined in until she lost consciousness. Mary Sauger, who was 35 at the time, stated that they beat her unconscious, then revived her with water just to beat her again. She said, "It seemed they were just getting their kicks out of beating someone. I still have problems with my left eye. There is constant throbbing behind the socket." After the assault, Sauger stated that James walked her downstairs to another room, which was on the 8th floor, and he fell asleep. After a few hours, Tanya appeared and stated that she could leave. She then called for a cab for Sauger at 7:30 p.m. and gave her $5 for the fare. She did not seek medical attention until 2 days later, after speaking to a friend that was also an attorney. Tanya left phone messages saying that Rick James would pay Mary money if she did not report the assault to the police. She did not return the calls. During Sauger's testimony at the trial, James dozed off in court and started snoring loudly. The judge then called for a 10-minute recess to allow James to revive himself. His lawyer stated that he was suffering from a light case of bronchitis at the time, which made it hard for him to sleep at night. Outside of the court, his lawyer implied that Tanya only hit Sauger. When testifying, Sauger's left eye was swollen closed, and her right eye was almost the same way. Hijazi pled guilty to her charges and faced a sentence of 4 years. James went to trial in 1993 and was found guilty. He was sentenced to 5 years in Folsom Prison, where he lost a civil suit to Sauger in 1994. The suit awarded her with $2 million in damages, and James was ordered to pay her $1 million. The hotel that they were at was also found liable and had to pay $750,000 in damages due to negligence. On August 21st, 1996, Rick James was released from prison, having served only 2 years. In a 1997 interview, James admitted to getting into a physical fight with a woman because she kicked my pregnant girlfriend in the stomach. In 1998, James was accused of sexually assaulting a 26-year-old woman, but the charges were later dropped. In 2004, James passed away of pulmonary and cardiac failure. He is buried in Forest Lawn Cemetery in Buffalo, New York.